Right, the next thing I'm going to do is create our first alien character. So we can go back to the Open Sprite button, because again they are in the graphics bit in the downloadable folder. And there's a few different aliens in there. It's up to you which one you choose. I'm going to take this one, Alien B, to begin with. 1B he's called, and press OK on him. And just like before we did with the cannon, if we go to his costume straight away and edit the costume and remove the black area by using that transparent fill again, and if you do that on his eyes as well, and if you want you can leave him white, or if you want to make him a bit brighter and choose a colour for him, you can do that. You'll have to just fill in some of the squares are kind of separate. We'll have bright pink for this bit, and there he is on the screen. And again, you might want to resize him once you've added him to your game, make him a bit smaller. Okay, that'll be about the right sort of size. So the next job will be making him move, and it's automatic movement, it's not anything that's controlled by us. So we're going to take a control block again, start with that flag, and first thing I need to do is set his starting position. So when the game is clicked, where is he going to start? And I want him to start top left hand corner. So we can take the coordinate for that with your mouse pointer. If you just leave your mouse pointer in the center of the alien, I can see that that is minus 210 for X and 156 for Y. So if I go and get a go block, minus 210 and 156. So that'll make him start in that position all the time. I'm also going to tell him to only face left and right so he doesn't go upside down when he turns, and I'm going to say point in direction and have that pointing to the right as well. And then after that we're going to use a forever block, and we're going to tell him to always move 5 steps, which will move 5 steps to the right. However, we're also going to say to him, if he gets to the edge of the screen, we don't want him to disappear off the edge, we want him to bounce. So if on edge bounce, you'll find that near the bottom of the motion category. But if you've played the original game, you'll know that the aliens kind of work their way down the screen as the game progresses, so they get closer and closer to the cannon at the bottom. So to make that happen, to make him move down, we need to add another little section in that says, if you're touching the edge of the screen, move down a little bit. So I'm going to take an if block, and in sensing we've got the very top touching block. If you click that into the hexagon space, in the drop down box you've got the option of the edge, which is referring to the edge of the screen. So if you touch the edge, we're going to tell this alien to change its Y position, that's its kind of up and down position, by I've worked this out and having done it previously, and if you put about 35, that's about the height of an alien. And you might have to experiment to get it for the right size for your sprite. Let's just set him going and see how that looks. So he's moving there. As he touches the edge, he should drop down a line. And you can see it's about the height of an alien each time he's dropping down. It will depend on how big you make your sprite. So if you've done a larger sprite, you might need to adjust that number a little bit. He's working his way down the screen. Okay, I'll press stop there. And because I've put the flag block at the top there, restarting it should send him back to the start of the, when we start the game, he's back up in the top corner. The next thing for him is we need to make him disappear when the cannon hits him, because at the moment he's just told to move and nothing else. So back in control, I'm going to add another if block to this same bit of script. Really important when you do this to make sure your second if block goes underneath the first one and not inside it. That will stop things working completely. And we're going to say to the alien, if you're touching sprite number 2, which is my red cannon laser there, we're going to tell it to hide. So again, back to sensing for the touching block. And in your list you should see your different sprites listed. Sprite 2 is my laser cannon. And in looks we've got the option to hide, which we've used already. And now when that cannon hits him, it should disappear. If you ever put a hide block in somewhere you need to put at the start of the game for things to show again. Otherwise, restarting the game, you'll find you don't have any aliens showing. So if we put a show block right at the top, so whenever you click the flag, the first thing he does is make sure he's visible again. So let's just run through this. We're saying when the flag is clicked, the alien needs to show, he needs to go to his starting position, and he'll always be pointing to the right. But after that, he's going to move 5 steps and keep moving 5 steps because it's inside the forever block. If he gets to the edge of the screen, he bounces off it. And if he touches the edge of the screen, he's told to move down a little bit. And finally, if he touches sprite number 2, he's going to hide. So let's just test that out. We'll set him moving and we'll see if we can hit him with the cannon. Let's wait for him to come back and press the laser. Oh, I've missed that time. There we go, got him. Okay, I also want to add in to this alien character some collision detection with my cannon. So if he does make it to the bottom of the screen and touches my cannon, that's going to stop the game because that'll be game over. So we're going to add another if block underneath the 2 that we've already placed inside his script there. And again, being really careful not to put it inside like that one, but underneath the last if block. And again, we're going to go back to touching, and we're going to take the same tile we've used already twice, but this time I'm going to choose sprite number 1, which is my cannon. You can rename these sprites, remember, if that makes it easier for you to remember who's who. But that's going to say when you touch sprite 1, I'm going to make something happen there, and I want to trigger off a kind of end of game message, and perhaps later we could add music in there, or I want to change the way my cannon looks. I think I'll do that in a little while as well. So the best way to do that is using the broadcast function in Scratch. And broadcasting, if you haven't come across that before, is sending a kind of message from one sprite to another sprite, or to the background, or between lots of different sort of elements of your game, and it's a sort of invisible message that can trigger one thing starting off another thing. So as you add a broadcast block in and click on the box, you'll see it'll say new, and it asks you to name the message. So I always find it useful to kind of name it appropriately for whatever function it's kind of carrying out. So this one is to end the game, so I'm going to call this message game over and press OK. And you then kind of take that message and you go to the sprite that's going to receive the message. In this case it's going to be my cannon. And you've got in the control blocks about halfway down a block that says when I receive, and that's the kind of listening block, that's the bit that gets the messages. And in the drop down box you'll see a list of any messages that you've created. So you can have different messages triggering different actions. For now I've only created one message, so it just says when I receive game over there. So what do I want it to do when I get that message? Well, I want it to look like he's been destroyed. So if I return to my cannon's costume and I go back to import, there is a second sprite that's called cannon destroyed in that folder. So I'm going to bring that one in as well and just edit it and remove the black areas again with the fill tool. And it should size it in line with the costume that's already been there. So cannon destroyed, that's called. And as I get that game over message, which will only happen, remember, when the alien has touched my cannon, I want it to switch costumes to look like the cannon destroyed block. So in the looks category we've got switch to costume right at the top. And when I get the message game over, switch to costume cannon destroyed. Now if you're going to do that somewhere else, you need to remember to put one of these blocks that says when you click the flag, switch to just a normal cannon costume, so when you restart the game he's always on the correct costume. And you might want to add a noise in there, that's something like that. We haven't added any sound yet, but we'll get to that shortly. So that could go in after the cannon destroyed bit as well. I also want the game to stop at that point, so we could also maybe put a little text message in there, so say game over. We could just use a speech bubble for that. There's other ways of making text appear. You can make sprites text or text as sprites, and that can reveal itself when it gets the game over message, that kind of thing. There's lots of different ways you can do it, but I'll just do it very simply with speech bubble for now, and we'll have that on the screen for 3 seconds, and then after that we go back to control. Right down the bottom of the control category you've got stop all, and that will stop the game. So we'll just set that going and we'll wait for him to work his way down the screen. Yeah, and then we can see that he's touched him and he's made the cannon switch costumes at that point. On the alien character, just to make sure he doesn't kind of keep triggering that, I think we'll give him the instruction when I receive game over, we'll tell him to hide as well, so he disappears at that point. And then touching the cannon, it won't keep triggering it, otherwise your game won't stop at that point. So let's just see that last bit in action. He's come down the screen, and as he touches the cannon switches over and we get game over.